Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online radio show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We're here to give you an honest opinion, different perspective, and hopefully a few likes. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on the show chat room, via our Facebook page, and on Twitter. We would like to thank those who make this show possible and allow us to bring it to you. Our show sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, Graybeard Publishing, and of course, Sheepdog. We would also like to recognize some of our favorite nonprofit charities who are doing great things for those who have served this country of ours. Veterans Outdoors, Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation, PinupsForVets.com, and the Lauren F. Bruner USS Arizona Memorial Foundation. To learn more about these nonprofits and how you can donate to their awesome causes, visit our website at www.stuandthenunn.com. That's it. Shut up and sit down. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn here on this March 20th, 2018. As you can see, I'm joined by my good brother from another mother land, the Nunn. What's up, Toby? How you doing, buddy?
I am, living large. I just did a little social media action, a little posting.
Nice.
But it is good to be back, and it's been a week. What a week!
It has been, yes.
It's been an interesting week, and we are going to do a little bit different show tonight, and talk about some current events, which is not typically new or out of our wheelhouse or a ballywick, but we're doing it because we have some things going on here in Austin that we want to talk about, and then we have some other things in life that we want to talk about. But it is good to be back. You look good. You know, one of the reasons why you look good?
Why is that, brother?
Because you're wearing Enlisted 9.
I am wearing Enlisted 9. And,
every time, you put on Enlisted 9.
Not to show off the guns a little bit there, but yeah.
Yeah, you're like, your sexy index goes up.
Yeah.
And your gun
did you see the American?
goes up.
Did you see the American flag there? It's growing. I see it waving in the winds there. Yeah,
just like real life, America's growing,
and a sexy
and rocking one of the best versions of the Veteran Outdoors hat out there. I gotta say,
yes.
I too got like a little VO going. I'm wearing a hat tonight to kind of hide how long my hair's getting.
Let me see that. Let me see that hair again.
I'm like downright hippie right now,
dude.
I know. What's up? Downright hippie. There's a reason for the hair. There's a reason for the hair growing long. Y'all hear about it before too long, but just know, like, getting longer.
There you go.
There's a purpose.
Okay.
It's purposeful growing.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I'm shaving mine with my wonderful Bulldog head shaver.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor, but I'd love to get them as one. Got to work on that because I love their products. We can talk about that some other time. Maybe we'll talk about maybe one show we'll talk about what it means to be a bald man and how to maintain that sexy and it look. No, we'll
that's right. That's right.
But anyways, yeah. So good to have you on. Good to be back. And yeah, we got a great show I think lined up tonight, and for good and bad reason. But there's no shortage of things to talk about.
Yeah, no,
that is for sure.
It's, let me just say hello to everyone in the chat room.
Yeah, get that going on.
But no, it's been an interesting week. So I live, as most people know, in the Central Texas area, just Austin, and it's been a busy week and a bit here anyway, because it's South by Southwest. It's also spring, spring break just happened,
right?
And for some reason, we got a serial bomber on the loose. And this is an interesting thing, because while the country's embroiled in this gun debate. You know, people think that the only way people can get hurt is is with guns, and you know the city of Austin is kind of being, for lack of a better term, terrorized by a serial bomber. There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. These aren't hate crimes. Uh, they're directed almost randomly. That if there is a connection to them other than the devices, the law enforcement aren't saying in terms of targeting if there's any connection. In fact, it seems that it is fairly random, and they're being left on doorsteps, they're being found in streets, they're being set by tripwire, they're being shipped through FedEx, and there seems to be a lot of them. I mean, so we've had 5 in as many days.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's
there's a lot of things that put Austin on the map. South by Southwest, people, just weird people, Dell, a lot of stuff, but never would I have thought anywhere in Texas, to be honest. But the blue dot of Texas, interesting. It's the only one little blue dot of Texas, but I wouldn't expect anything like this anywhere in Texas, but it's or something that would be the city that would happen at. But,
yeah, no, it's such an interesting thing, right? Because there's a lot of different ways to terrorize, and you and I both have spent a lot of time overseas, and the most effective way is bombings. It's indiscriminate, it's violent, it's attention getting because it's so explosive, and I'm not trying to be punny here. I mean, like it captures a lot of people's attention, and then to have it where it's just so random, and you got a 17-year-old boy with the future in front of him, a talented musician getting ready to go to college, to an elderly lady, to random guys. It's there's no rhyme or reason. It's just, and
yeah, it's interesting. I want to hit on they were first, they thought there was a racial thing, right? The NAACP there were thinking because the first 2 victims, there was the families knew each other and all that kind of stuff, even though they lived, I think, a little ways apart. And then there was a Hispanic lady. So then there was this thing about, well, they're picking minorities, and I had a bad feeling then because I was like, it just sounds like it's too much in the narrative playbook for someone to say, look, it's the bad white guy or something, or racist. I mean, they didn't quite say it, but you could sense it, especially in the left-leaning media. They were like, they were going, there's 2 black guys and a Mexican lady. That's, just don't know what that means. It was, but then 2 young white guys in their 20s, riding their bike, hit a tripwire, right?
Yeah.
And now another one being shipped somewhere to somewhere. We don't know what, you just know it's to and from Austin, and now some other stuff's been found, I think I heard, but
FedEx. There was a detonation at the FedEx location in Schertz, which is in between Austin and San Antonio.
Yeah.
Primarily, I mean, it's really a suburb of San Antonio. And then there was another one found here at the Austin FedEx Center at the airport, as well. So it's like 2 different FedEx centers. And this is gonna sound horrible, but very excited that this person decided to utilize FedEx or UPS, because now there's tracking, so a point of origin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how slick they are. Did they go to a drop-off spot, or did they walk into a facility where they met with someone and dropped it off, and that kind of stuff?
Right. Either way, like if they went to just a drop-off spot, that there's going to be an IP attached to the printer, that printed the slip.
Right.
If they went to a drop-off spot, and utilized the alias, there's probably video coverage and closed circuit coverage of the transaction.
At least they'll kind of know where it was picked up at. They can narrow in on maybe where it was coming from, and so
like there's a guy on Reddit that claims that he's the guy. He's got an AMA going. Tough to tell, the validity, or if that's just some jackass that is trying to, get attention.
Right. Right.
But you know, it's really interesting. You know, this whole, you know, violence aspect. Like, you know, we're going to stop having, you know, peaceful dialogue, and I wonder if that's indicative of what's going on just with cultures. Like, let's not have like dialogue. Let's not have debate. Let's not have communication. Let's just start engaging. And you know, is this inspired to do that? Is this part of that?
Right.
You know, the gun debate. Hopefully, you know, we went through a solid week of, you know, high school kids telling everyone how, you know, they're smarter than us, and I think we're through that. The guns in school debate, I think, got shut down today in Maryland. Where,
Yeah, the whole armed teachers, SRO, police thing. Yeah, I think.
yeah, I think
And we'll
we
we'll
got
hit
an
on
answer.
that in a little bit for sure.
We got an answer to that. But it's just, I mean, who'd have thought that Austin, and it just this kind of randomness, and it it also reminds me of the sniper.
Oh, Malvo, the DC sniper.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, you know, who knows? You're going to get gas, or you're driving down the Beltway or whatever. You know, I'm trying to remember the specifics of the
Well, yeah,
of
he was hitting people at convenience stores. You're right, gas stations. I mean,
yeah.
but that's the ultimate example of terror, right? Is terrorism is making people fearful of just going out and doing anything. And in the last couple of days in Austin, you've had when the one went off that the two guys tripped with the tripwire, it was, you know, school buses didn't run. They told people to stay inside till at least 10 o'clock. This morning, another incident, or the people around the FedEx facility, I think they told people not to leave and stay locked down. And isn't that the whole thing of, you know, we're not going to let the terrorists win. We're going to go about our lives. We're going to live as free Americans. Yet something like this, I mean, Kobe, you know, I'm in Austin quite a bit. We do a lot of shows together. I have you and many other friends down there. Our good friend Doug, who's on the thing, who's watching right now, and many others that I've worked with. I worked with a lot. I worked for an Austin-based company. My old company was Austin-based, um, and I worry about all you folks. So it's not just people in Austin, but the extensions of those people, family, friends, coworkers from all over the country who are all kind of, if only being fearful for the people they know and care and love in Austin, they're still fearful also. So it's actually rippling well beyond the capital of Texas, right? And you know, yesterday you had the police chief almost begging the person to contact him, just so that, I mean, you know,
As we're talking, I just got an alert. Uh, Another explosion with reports of injury, Brody Lane and Slaughter Lane. Like, they just came in as we're talking. Like,
really,
yeah, I mean, it's ramping up.
right,
You know,
right,
it's like, and I, you know, is it because it's getting brazen? Is there copycats? And you're right. Like, the law enforcement are, you know, definitely like asking,
right,
you know, trying to get as much information as possible. You know, they're also they're also not telling us what they know,
right,
which I agree with. You know, don't pollute the information pool. But unfortunately, it just leaves a lot of things up to conjecture. Right? You get a lot of
right.
speculation, and but
Yeah, I'm seeing it right now in the last minute. Yeah, yeah, South Austin, another one person injured. This is just coming across the wire now.
yeah,
Yeah. It Yeah, I mean, it's again, it's what does the person want? You know, what ideology? What is their purpose? Are they just getting a thrill out of this? I mean, obviously, it sounds from all the people that have been on the news, this is not your run of the mill, looked it up, bombs for dummies kind of person. This stuff is, these are made well. They're surviving movement. I mean, the FedEx facility, it went through the whole system before it triggered. Was it on a timer? Was it on some other kind of trigger? Um, you know, the ones with the tripwire, and you know what the law enforcement's are, or what they are releasing is definitely, these are advanced things, which means, you know, I'm sure when they're doing profiling,
some kind of exposure, some kind of
yeah,
training.
yeah. So they're profiling the heck out of this, right? They're gonna be digging into anyone they know in the area that could have these skills, but it's gonna be a unique set of skills without a doubt. You know,
Yeah, I mean the
or a really smart person like the Unabomber, right? He wasn't really come from that
Yeah, I
background,
mean,
but he got so smart. He carried his bombs on buses in his lap, took them to where he wanted, put them there, and came back, and was confident enough they weren't going to blow until he was ready for them to.
yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, and of course this is conjecture, and it's an assumption that the one that exploded in shirts at the FedEx, that that was due to mishandling, probably. Like that was coming down a conveyor belt, most likely, or I don't know.
Right.
I'm just
right.
Or
maybe he had a timer on it, and he thought it had gone through the system faster. Who knows?
He paid for a certain time delivery and he didn't get it.
Sometimes that happens. You pay for overnight, and you don't get it. You're like, what'd I pay that $25 for? Right. So, but yeah, it is scary. And how do you tell people, man? And I tell you what, it's a bad time if you just did a big Amazon order. If you live in Austin, it's not a good time to have made that order. That's for sure. Because even if you're expecting something, I would imagine you're kind of looking out the door, going, I don't know.
Yeah, no, like the I got a package the other day that I wasn't expecting, and you're like, ooh.
What's that return label? Okay, I recognize it. Yeah.
The dogs are like, it's still on the doorstep. The dogs are barking at the guy. I'm like, I'll get to that. Like later.
Call up some old friends. Hey, you still got that adopted canine dog you worked with? Can you come on over by the house? Yeah.
Bring that canine over.
Yeah, it's and you got to imagine you're someone that's kind of trained or you have you've been with those situations where you kind of know what signs to look for, right? The number of people that probably are getting anything that are just panicking and calling the police. The Austin police have just got to be swamped, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, I was talking to an APD guy on Saturday, and he was getting ready. He was about to go on shift, and I was like, man, you got South by Southwest, St. Patrick's Day, and he's working downtown. I'm like, man, and you got this stuff going on, and like, welcome to the jungle,
right?
But one of the things that's also been going on, I don't know if this has been going on around you, but it's been happening. It's happened to a couple of my friends. And they've been receiving packages of things from China that they have not ordered, and they're like, earrings, necklaces, watches,
like literal. I mean, realistic stuff. They truly haven't ordered.
Yeah, and they're getting these boxes of stuff from China that they haven't ordered. Hair ties, just random stuff.
I wouldn't mind a couple iPhones, maybe some iPads from China.
Right. And what it is like I'm trying to think what the technical term is that they're doing it. And I was reading about it in Forbes magazine. But these Chinese companies will buy this stuff off Alibaba. They buy it off Alibaba, and then they just randomly ship it to an address that they can get validated.
It's a real address. Yeah, it's almost like fishing for spam addresses, right? It's like you're
right, and then they send it to this address, and then they write reviews on Alibaba that like, hey, I got this product from blah blah. I'm here in the U.S. and they're trying to inflate their sales, and then they're trying to inflate the value of the product. And these really are worthless products,
right?
Dollar.
And for those that don't know, Alibaba is the Amazon of China. Just for anyone that's not up on their international shopping experience.
It's also known as the bad guy in Aladdin and 40 Thieves.
That's true, Alibaba. What
Alibaba
is the iron? What is the coincidence?
Every Iraqi boy would do when he pointed at an older guy, he'd be like, Alibaba,
bad guy.
Alibaba. Yeah,
that's true.
So.
But no, it is. Prayers are going out, man. For the people that have been hurt down there, and just everyone else, because you really can't live your normal life. And again, law enforcement, first responders, ATFD, FBI, Lord knows they're working overtime, trying to catch the next one and get in front of it. And now we just hear possibly in just the last few minutes, you heard it right here on Stu and the Nunn, of another bombing that just happened. So. They are, it's a whack-a-mole, but it's a whack-a-mole with a field the size of Austin. They're trying to figure out where they catch the next one at, and that's not an easy task until they can start narrowing in on them. But
Well, and I think this,
took 18 years to catch a Unabomber. Hope they can do this one quicker.
I believe that they can do this one. I believe that they can do this one quicker. And I hate saying things like this because, again, I'm saying this at the cost of a tragedy. I'm saying this at the cost of pain and suffering. I'm saying this at the cost of loss. But this is a good test for our law enforcement and our technological front. This is a real good test to see, like if we're really keeping up with what we need to keep up with.
Yeah.
This is a good test for Homeland Security. This is a good test, for lower level, municipal government and state government and federal agencies, to sorry, people are messaging us right now about the explosion. It's a good test for these agencies to work together to do this, and for us to see how well we're doing on that. There's a clip, Jocko Willick, and every time something goes bad, he always says good. Not because it's good that something bad happened, but it's good that there's the opportunity to get something from it, to learn. So I don't think this guy or gal, I think, again, no assumptions here. I don't think, bomb making and explosives making is, strictly exclusive to the patriarch. It could be a female.
Yeah. We've used the gender of he and male a lot, but it absolutely could be, right?
Yeah, like we learned that females make good serial killers too. So this is not exclusive to gender. I think it's a good opportunity for us to put some of our skill sets to work. I think it's a good opportunity to have our municipal government, state, and federal governments work together and get these agencies going. Test our Homeland Security and and shut this dude down, and then let him. Texas is not a good place to kill people.
No, it's and depending on who it ends up being and who they catch, man, if it ends up being an illegal immigrant, there'll be a wall next week. Believe that, Jack. If it's something like that, it'll or if it's a radical terrorist or something like that. But no, I don't think any of the signs. I don't think it's gonna. They don't have the patience for that. I don't think it's gonna be anything out level. Right? They're gonna be more. They want to go to Allah. But
yeah, I mean, and again, like, I don't think that this is a religiously motivated event. I don't think it's a faith. I think it's just another reason why we need to, pay attention to the person to our left and to our right.
Right. And situational awareness. It's funny you mention that because when I came back from Afghanistan in 07, for the first couple years after I got back to about 09, there was this misnomer or this label they would put on certain vets coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan, both, which were hyper vigilant, right? So it was a bad thing to be hyper vigilant, and people were defining hyper vigilant as, well, you're the guy or girl that are driving down the road, and when you see a bag of trash on the side of the road, you're kind of veering to the left, or every time you go underneath an overpass, you kind of look up, right? That's because you spent the last year amped up on the world's most powerful drug, adrenaline, telling you to do that, and you pull into the Walmart and you're doing your 5s and 25s, right, outside the truck, as you do. Anyone that's been deployed knows exactly what a 525 is. But you're doing these things, or you're carrying your CC, your concealed weapon with you, right? You're carrying your pistol on your hip, or something like that. Or you keep one in your car, and people are like, "Oh, you're hyper vigilant. You just need to calm down. You need to go to the VA and get checked out. You don't need to be that way anymore." I think now that's for the last couple of years we've been saying, hey, being hyper vigilant's a good thing, because you're aware of your surroundings, and you're not just the head down sheep just thinking like nothing's ever going to happen to you. And it has nothing to do with these bombings. It has to do with shootings in Orlando or San Bernardino, or a truck running people down in New York City, or any other number, or a guy going to a military
to the bathroom on a vacation,
right? Or a guy, or going to the SRP site at Fort Hood, Texas, and having a dude come in and gun you down. Yeah. Hypervigilance is not a bad thing. That society, it seemed to be, tried to label veterans in the mid 2000s. It's a good thing, because if you're paying attention and you have what we call situational awareness, right? And that's what this needs to be happening too.
Well, our friends over at Sheepdog Response absolutely preach this. And, for anybody, civilian that, is unfamiliar with, I know we have some really good friends, guys like Rich Lowe and, many others that, while they lack in, the military experience that we had, they've, taken the time to gain experience and gain exposure. And one of the biggest classes that Sheepdog Response teaches is based on situational awareness. But in the chat room, we got some good stuff. I want to give a shout out to Autumn Willman. She made a really good comment in there, talking about how and I think she's right. I believe like this guy's or gal, this person is absolutely trying to test the system, and trying to see what we got. If this is the guy that's on Reddit, I think he's, some of the comments that he makes on Reddit are about like being it's anonymous. It's too hard for them to like expose who he is, to uncover who he is. And so like I definitely think anytime someone does something like this, while they might be disturbed, they might be deranged, they might have issues, one thing they are not is lacking intelligence.
Right.
And Autumn makes a really good point, and that's something that should always be known. Just because someone is capable of violence doesn't mean that they're incapable of like forethought. In fact, the most sinister and diabolical things are most thought through intelligent plans. So yeah, Autumn, I think you're absolutely right. Lisa, we are not watching. We're just using our phones and stuff to do this while we're running. There's actually surprisingly a small amount of tech that has to go with running the show. So we are not watching television while we do this. While it does seem like we're distracted, we're trying to get our updates through like news tickers.
I think she was wanting to know if we even knew about it. But yeah. And just to clarify, smaller amounts of tech for one than sometimes the other. As in 1, 2,
Bush League,
3, 4,
tech on my end,
5, like 6 screens. League. 6 screens I got going
big
right
league
now.
On his. I got 2 computers going. He's got like, it's like the Bat Cave over at Stu Falcon's house.
Yeah, it's pretty jammed up. But yeah, we are tracking what's going on.
Let's jump real fast.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of these shootings real quick, because we had the nation captivated last week with the discussion of shootings, and then really the mainstream media led everything with this school walkout. And I gotta tell you, whoever like came up with the school walkout apparently is smart and pays attention to school schedules. Because one thing they did is they made sure that when they did the school walkout, the national school walkout, they did it when Texas was on spring break. Yes, I gotta tell you, there are a lot of kids that would have got their asses not just for protesting guns, but for like walking out of school. Like, you go to school to go to school, like this,
right?
Like this, utilizing children and utilizing an educational platform to push a social agenda, like church and state, like time and place. And
it's someone brought up something the other day, and I don't know, because it was a pretty hectic week last week on social media as that was happening. But I probably read it on Facebook. I don't remember. But someone said if they really wanted to test how committed these kids were, they should have done it after school hours and seen how many came back and showed up.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Yeah. That would have been a true testament. Or did it during their spring break, right?
That's not going to happen.
Right. But they'd done it after school hours, how many would have come in and done it? It's and sadly the truth didn't come out till that afternoon and the next day. I wish they would have gotten the truth out earlier, that the people behind the women's march, the pink angry vagina hat wearing folks, were the ones that were behind organizing this. They made it. They started it out, making it look like it was for, to honor the victims. So they knew right thing. They played the emotion card. It's like, who wouldn't want to honor the 17 victims? But that's how it started a couple weeks earlier. But by the time it got to it, it was, when there's numerous reports. At my own schools here, there were kids made signs. There were gun control, this, that, whatever. And it turned into all about being that. In fact, my own son told me at their school, it was about gun control and all that stuff. And it was tons of signs. And I was surprised as many at our school here went out, because we were in the middle of a snowstorm. So I was like, okay, well, they went out.
They're committed.
Yeah, they're committed. They did that. They went out in a snowstorm. I thought there'd be like some fair weather protesters, like 4 kids out there, right? But it's sad that they hijacked what could have been a honorable way for students all across this country to come together to honor 17 victims, and used it to push and perpetuate a political agenda from one particular side. And in some cases now we see reports of kids being punished for not going outside. And it pains me to say this, Governor Cuomo of this state of New York, we call him Adolf Cuomo, is put out a word to his Secretary of Education, or whatever they call it here, to find out if any schools kept anyone from going outside, and if anyone tried to punish anyone. He wants to know, because he wants to do something to those New York schools.
If I understand it correctly, he's trying. Correct me if I'm wrong. He wants to correct if someone was punished for doing. Pardon me.
Bless you.
For not going to school.
No,
I mean for not walking out.
Yeah, no. He wants to know if anyone was kept from walking out, or was punished if they walked out. They walked out.
So the opposite of what I thought.
Yeah. So if they walked out and got punishment, like they weren't allowed to make up a test, or they were considered suspended. Like in some schools, there were kids that were detention and all this stuff. Or so if they walked out and got punished, or they weren't allowed to walk out, he wants those schools punished. Right.
Well, here's the thing. What a horrible precedent.
Yeah.
So like, not to downplay what happened in Florida. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty. But what precedent are we setting here? That anytime something comes up that offends people, now, and I'm choosing my words carefully, because there's a lot of correlations that can be made. So obesity, drunk driving. I bet on that same day, if I could Google faster and I had an available computer, I'd probably do it. So if anyone's in the chat room wants to do this, Google how many people died due to drunk drivers on that same day.
Right.
Like
how many people were sexually assaulted or raped or beaten or
and what I'm saying this not to incite. What I'm saying is, if we allow our kids to start playing in political games at school, such as walking out for this, and I'm not saying it's not a worthy cause. I'm not saying we should stifle their voice. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying, though, is if you start allowing them to do this, where you set a precedence where you're like, well, if you don't walk out, we're going to suspend you. Or if someone stopped you from walking out and asked you to do what you came here to do, like take this test, every time there's an issue, you can turn around and say, well, more people died due to snake bites.
Right.
I'm walking out for snake bites. When was the last time that, we put a snake perimeter around our school?
Right. No, I'm with you. It's,
and it's like,
it does set a bad precedent.
I don't think we should include the education system. I think if you want to do that and you want to protest and you want to have free speech, go to the little designated free speech area of your campus. Universities have them where you can, go and, put up your petition to protect the whales in the Antarctica, the clubbing of the seals in northern Canada, whatever it is that you want to protest, whatever social cause that you want to get on, and go express that there. But don't set the precedent that, you're going to let kids run out of school to protest. That means they're not supervised. We send our kids to school to be supervised. CPS gets called if you leave your child under a certain age unsupervised at your home.
Or if you don't
So
or if you don't get your kid in school, just leave them sit at home and that kind of stuff.
right. So like this whole thing is just crazy in terms of the procedural aspect of it, and it's just ridiculous that we as a nation bought into it.
Right.
Like, I'm not saying they don't have a voice. I'm not saying they don't have a point. But let's leave the public education system for education. It's
Right.
not the public, political growth and political grooming system. It's the public education system. We have enough problems where we got, teachers telling students that their Uncle Louie's a no good nothing that had no future, and that's why he had to go in the military. Like, we have enough problems with this stuff that we don't need, teachers, taking advantage of, like, their position of power to get a child to do something that they shouldn't do. Like, let's leave teachers to teach.
Yep.
They don't have enough time. I hear it all the time. I have some great friends that are teachers. I believe Lisa McAdams in our chat room right now is a teacher. And, they don't have enough time to get through the curriculum as it is. And then they got standardized testing and they got all this other stuff they got to deal with. Let's let them focus on that.
Right.
And when it comes to social issues, let's work that out at a different location. That's what your churches are for. That's what your homes are for. That's what your friends at the soda pop shop are for. Start working that stuff there. But when it comes to education and this public school system, let's focus on that.
Right.
Let's get our kids to graduate by making sure that when they're in class, they're learning something. Let's help them that way. Let's listen to Mike Rowe a little bit, and start promoting our kids to take some classes that are going to help them later on.
Right.
Public activism isn't a profession. Not many people can make money being public activists. I know this David Hogg kid thinks he can, but
yeah, well, he probably will be. He'll probably graduate high school and have a job right on MSNBC. I'm sure, and I'm sure they've already made him that offer. But yeah, but you're right. I mean, I'm looking at some stats here, and I'll just let's pick Chicago because there's a website dedicated to this. If you've never seen HeyJackass.com, you need to go check it out. They track nothing but murders and stuff in Chicago, right?
Oh, that's what it's okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was back something else.
No, it's nothing but murder. It's real time stats every day, all the time about Cook County, right? So just March to date, in 20 days of March, there's been 22 homicides in Chicago, and there's also been in year to date in Chicago 47 opioid deaths in Chicago, right? There's tons of stats on here. I just knew this one would have a lot of stats. So yeah, there's all kind of stuff. But you're right. What was interesting is last week, Toby, I got to be on air with Dave Bellavia on WBN.com, and I spent a couple hours with him, and we talked about this. And I talked about this whole. It was the day before, day of. I think it was Wednesday. I was in the air and on air with him, and or it was Tuesday, and he had this whole thing about I talked about this whole thing with this walk up versus walk out, right? And that was the whole thing of, this whole push that was to walk up to students, walk up to someone that's alone and sitting alone in lunchtime and talk to them, right? Walk up to a teacher and thank them for what they do. Walk up to somebody that doesn't really have a lot of friends or seems to be getting slide and get to know them, get to know someone new, all this kind of stuff. Great example. Another great example, I saw a video on Facebook with this school, rather than walk out. I mean, you talk about taking this terrible event and really honoring these 17 that were teachers and students that were killed, was they gave every student 17 sticky notes, and they told them they walked around the school, and they put on teachers' doors or students' lockers what inspired them or what they liked about them. So they had 17 to pick, and they showed the hallways, just sticky notes all up and down these lockers, all over these teachers' doors. So the students were given 17 and allowed to walk the halls and write what about that person they like or what inspired them or something like that. And that is something that you do to honor those people and to have inclusion and that kind of thing. Because obviously, what caused what happened with Parkland was not the gun that was an inanimate object, not the ammo that had to get loaded in the gun because it had to get loaded by a person, but was a complete failure. And I talked to some law enforcement buddies this last weekend about this, from the federal level to the local level, from the to down to the school and down to the citizens and community that knew this young man, that failed. It wasn't everything, all the way down to the resource officer who, unlike the one today, who engaged his target and suppressed the threat, hid outside. Right? It was a failure at all those levels. So if anyone should have been protesting anything last week, it shouldn't have been no guns. It should have been no incompetence. It should have been have more bravery or bigger kahunas or whatever you want to call it. But that's what should have been protested, because that's where the failures were. Unlike Las Vegas, which is still, we don't know why, because the guy was so under the radar. Short of this kid having a neon blinking sign stuck to his head, he gave every sign in the world. He even called 911 in December, saying he was having issues. They have that recording, and I heard it, where he was like, my mom just died, I'm having issues, I'm not feeling good. He personally called. A neighbor called and said he's going to shoot up the school. He has guns. You need to come take him. They didn't do anything. That's where the failure. That's what people. I absolutely believe 100% the schools need to be safer. I have kids in schools. I care about these kids. I have hockey players in these schools. You know, I do stuff, volunteering my time for these kids because I care about them, and I care about our youth. Yes, they should be the safest places. We have layers of defense at the airport. From the moment you park until you get on that plane, there are so many defensive mechanisms. It isn't just the person in a blue shirt watching you walk through the metal detector. There's all kind of folks watching you. There's all kind of layers going on. If you go to a military base overseas, as you know, there's depth in defense. We have concertina wire, you have Jersey barriers, you have gates, you have guards, you have guard towers. Yes, we need to have that level of. Now, do we have to have that level? No, they're not fortresses. But it needs to be more than just a door that a secretary buzzes someone in on. It needs to be an SRO. It needs to be a cop sitting out front. It needs to be deterrence to get people to think about something. Because the whole reason why we hit on these soft targets in these gun-free zones, or as we call them, victim-rich zones, is because you've never seen anyone crash a NRA convention and shoot it up, or a police convention or conference and shoot it up, or the SHOT Show. No one ever goes there to try to shoot up the place. They go to the place where they know there's going to be no threat. That's why we say locks keep honest people out. If someone's looking to steal a car, they're checking cars. If they see a car that's unlocked, they're going to go for that more than they are the one that has a club on the wheel. Unless they really want that one with the club on the wheel. Maybe it's the Mercedes they really want. They'll do whatever it takes. But if they don't want one that bad, they'll just find the easiest thing they can get to. Which is why if they can walk right into school, and they'll go right in and do it. But if you just have a little bit of defense in place, or the people know or suspect that maybe some of the teachers are armed, like now we know certain pilots are armed, and that kind of stuff, maybe they'll think twice about it and go somewhere else or not do it at all, right? This is common sense stuff. Sorry, I ranted there a little bit. My bad.
No, I agree. I think first and foremost, we're talking about two different issues. And I think first and foremost, let's talk about school security. Like, because one, that's a 50-meter target. That's not. I mean,
that's not a far reach. Yeah, it's not a far reach at all.
That's not. I mean, it's not quite 25, but it's pretty close to 25. But it's definitely a 50-meter target. It's something we can knock down real quick. It's something that we can knock down responsibly, fiscally. You know, it's attainable. You know, we can, pass legislation that, forces schools to, canonize, their entry and exit points, adding in, metal detectors, adding in school resource officers. These are 50-meter targets. Securing our schools is one subject. And, there was the video clip of the school board meeting, or PTA meeting, I can't remember. I believe it was in your state, in New York, where an older veteran, as well as a state employee, I believe some kind of reserve law enforcement agent, went up and was speaking, and it was like talking about securing the school, and he was being challenged, and there was a young kid that was challenging him. And, they were having dialogue at the microphone in front of the panel. The guy reaches into his pocket and pulls a knife out and holds it over his head and said, "Now what are you going to do? Like, the school's not safe." He didn't pull the knife. He didn't blazon, the knife. He didn't, present it. He like held it over his head. It was closed. It was a folding knife. And, of course, he listened to the crazy, "You pulled a switchblade on a kid." Like, you drown out that noise. And just, the guy had a point. He had a wonderful point. Like, he walked into a building without being checked and had a tool that could take out everyone in that room if he was, a little less fat and a little more motivated. And like, securing the schools is one subject. Gun control is a completely different subject, and that's not a 50-meter target. We're talking, constitutional amendment. We're talking like that's 1,000-meter target, and you gotta shoot a lot of rounds and get some dope on that before you like die on that thing and hitting steel all the time. We're talking about a 50-meter target and a 1,000-meter target. Everyone's trying to put these two together. They're not.
Right.
And first and foremost, like, if you really love the kids, I love the kids. I know you love the kids. We love our own kids. We love the kids at our church. We love the kids on the hockey teams. We love our own kids. Yeah, I want them to have a secure school. I take one of our daughters, to our high school here up the street, and I smile because I always see 2 police vehicles in that parking lot, and I know that the police department here is top notch. We train with them. They live on our streets. Like, we do a lot of stuff. Like, I know that if anything goes down, like I got some of the best people in the country that are going to respond to that. And I think everyone should have that. Everyone should have that kind of peace of mind. Everyone should have that. But let's talk about that first, and then let's talk about the other stuff. These kids, like, the irony of it, the irony of the whole thing is that if they were truly concerned about securing their schools, they couldn't have walked out.
Yeah, that was a good point. I thought about that too. Oh, you're going to walk all the targets out in the open. They're targets waiting to. I mean, yeah, if you're that concerned about security, you would kept them in there where they cannot fire and ice. That's it. This show brought to you by Fire and Ice Pizza and Bar.
Right.
Yeah, that was a good point. Yeah, you just walked a whole bunch of targets out for anyone that wanted to do something, or run them down with a car, even if they didn't have a gun. It is just, it's asinine. The reason why you and I and so many others, 1% of this nation went to war, less than 1% went to war, and so why so many people were affected and so many people signed up after 9/11 is because we didn't want our kids or anyone in our country innocently to be targeted or have to see the horrors and the hell of what it means to be in a combat zone. Or be fearful of their lives, or be fearful of walking down the street or going to the movie theater or doing like that. There's a reason why we went over there and did that and said, we'll keep that fight over there so it never comes on our shores again, because how dare this happen in our own country? That's the reason why we haven't done it. We surely don't want that to happen now. So this whole concept of, oh, well, no teachers can be armed, and oh, we can't let a vet have a weapon, and this and that, and they're not qualified and all that kind of stuff. Look, people screw up, people make mistakes, whether it's a negligent discharge or whatever. We're human beings. There's only one perfect person to ever walk this planet, and he's no longer here, but he's watching over us, right? But there is people make mistakes, but I would rather have a person that has been trained, that has been in that kind of environment, that knows how to react to that understands what the sight, smells, and everything else feels, tastes like, than someone that doesn't. You're not going to just walk in and start handing guns out to every teacher. Not every teacher can be a baseball coach or a football coach. You pick one of the teachers that has played, that has coached, that has a history and experience and background in that sport before you say, hey, can you step up and also be the coach of the team? They don't just go pick anybody. You're not just going to pick anybody to be an armed teacher. They're going to, just like the pilots, one of them is a good friend of ours who's one of these armed pilots. They got to volunteer. They had to say, I'm willing to take on that responsibility. And they went through a lot of training. They got vetted. They have to requalify multiple times a year. But not every one of them is meant to be that. Just like not everyone's meant to be in the military, or everyone's meant to be a police officer or anything else. So this whole concept of we're not going to just give up. Who wants their kindergarten teacher to be armed? Guess what? If kindergarten teacher's got 3 tours in Iraq, and she's got a Bronze Star with a V, and she's got a couple body count racked up, and she knows, and she's put on Save Lives with some tourniquets and patched some dudes up. Yeah, I think she'd be pretty qualified to have one. whether she's being targeted or someone in her school's being targeted. And we saw that today with Maryland. You have someone there, it stops it. There were 2 wounded instead of 17 dead.
No, it's one last thing is like, since 1943, the United States government's had a program that helps troops become teachers. Why don't we just start with them?
Yeah.
Like, we got veterans. Just joining us now quickly, we have to move on to another subject, but as we're transitioning that subject, I want to give a shout out, a big, heartfelt, I'm proud of you, man, Colton Smith in the chat room. Colton Smith on the, watching us right now. He fought on Saturday night. It went to a decision. It did not go his way. He fought a very game opponent. Colton looked amazing. He's a specimen of a man as it is, not just physically, but spiritually and emotionally. He's an amazing father. Congratulations, because they're expecting their third, him and Megan. And
awesome.
I just want to tell you, Colton, man, you went out there. You work for the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. You're a busy dude. You're a father. You're traveling the world, and you still like squeezed in a fight, and you didn't embarrass yourself, man. You got in there and you fought, and I'm proud of you. I love you. Love you and Megan and Mason and Hunter, and soon you guys are gonna have a new one, so we're excited for that. Keep your chin up. It is what it is, man. Let's get back to the drawing board, and we'll do it again. But with that, I'm going to throw it over to you, Troy, because I know there's something that you really want to talk with us about. So
yeah, and same thing, Colton, from me that Toby said. I just want to very proud to know you, and I think we think you did awesome, and it's been a long time. What was it, a couple years since he's fought, right, Toby?
It's been a minute.
It's not something you just stepped out of a few months ago. I mean,
like he squeezed in like a tour to Afghanistan in there.
Yeah, just something little,
Got a little platoon sergeant time with the infantry in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He running around with the senior enlisted advisor to the chairman. That guy Troxel, Sergeant Major Troxel, that dude's a beast.
Yeah. Well, so Colton
I don't know
knows
how anyone can keep up to him.
Yeah, Colton knows as better as anybody, right? It's not always winning is sometimes good, because that's what makes us stronger, right? That doesn't kill us, and we learn from our mistakes, and we learn from the cuts, and we learn from the bruises. So, I have no doubt he's going to bounce back from this and be even better. But yeah, so and this kind of segues into that. So. I'm going to kind of use the last few minutes of the show here. We're going to kind of have a little PSA moment, if you would. And I kind of want to talk about something kind of near and dear to my heart, but it's really near and dear to me, not just for me, but for Toby and Colton and Doug and John and everyone else listening, Maggie and everyone else. But the thing is, especially also those of us that have served in the military, done, multiple years and multiple tours and was out there running PT all the time, doing all that kind of stuff. The bottom line is, we are not infallible, and we are not, impenetrable. We're not perfect, and we're not going to live here forever. We are getting older. We're getting slower, and we can't do everything we used to. I mean, without a doubt, right, Toby? Hashtag that. Sometimes life catches up to us. So I'm going to kind of come out with this, go public with it, and just talk to everybody. Look, back in November, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in early November, and I went through kind of a little shock and awe moment there. And, I got my physical every year, which was ironic because years ago, when I thought I was, nothing could touch me, I would go years and years and years without physicals. And I'd be like, well, I'm fine. I feel fine. I can do things. I'm flying all the time. What do I need that? So a couple years back, I'm getting older. I started going to physicals more often. So within 1 year, I was fine to, hey, you got type 2. And I was like, no, you need to recheck your numbers. that's how much I denied it. They were like, no, we rechecked our numbers. You've got type 2. Like, we don't just say that for no reason. So I kind of went through about a month or so of denial and anger and, woe is me, and what did I do to deserve this, and how this happened to me, how did I let this happen, what could I have done different, how can I turn back the clock? And I had a good talk with my doctor, and he was like, there's nothing you could do about it. And he told me, he said, you probably had it for 10 years. It just waited to now to pop up. You've probably had it's been there the whole time. There's a long history of it in my family. Once we talked through that, he said that you were destined to have this. There's probably nothing you could have done about it. It would have been a miracle if you didn't. And he said, hey, here's some ways you can, things, eat better, do this, do that. And that's how I do. I control it by diet. And my numbers are down. I go to the gym a lot more. I don't know if you noticed with this big enlisted 9 Fight Company shirt, if you can tell, but I just take better care of myself. I eat better. I pay attention, and I realize that one day I'm going to be checking out of this earth, and whenever the Lord's ready to take me home. But I want to be around. We talked about our kids, to see them as long as I can, and hopefully grandkids one day. So I'm kind of coming out with this because I want you to pause. And I don't care if you're listening to this show and watch me right now and you're 22 or you're 52 or anywhere in between or anywhere older and younger, male or female, it doesn't matter. But I'm really kind of talking maybe a little bit more to the males, because we tend not to do this stuff. We don't always check ourselves. We don't get checked. We don't think we need to go to the doctor. We're just kind of more doctor adverse than females are. That's just the way it is, right? Females got a lot of other stuff going on. They go to doctors more often and more frequently than we do, for a variety of reasons. We can cover that on another show if we ever need to. But, I'm really kind of talking to you, the guys out there. Check yourself, make sure you're getting your physicals, and make sure you're doing the right things, because one day you think you're doing good, you're running long and lifting weights or doing whatever you're doing and raising a family, and the next day you're getting bad news, and it could be nothing you can help. It could be cancer. It could be I've had some good friends of mine that struck down, not struck down, but stricken with cancer, but they fought back and have beat it. People younger than me, people that you would never think that would have that. You could get it could be diabetes, it could be ALS, it could be anything that's going on. So I just kind of I've been wanting to talk about this for a while on the show, and just say, check, one, be thankful for every hour and every day you have on this earth, for the people around you that love you. We talked last week about me losing one of my soldiers last week, and I went to his funeral. Never at 30 something years old and having a liver failure, would never have guessed a 33-year-old would have that. You never know when your time's coming up. So pay attention to those around you. Try not to live with hate in your heart. I'm not asking you to be kumbaya kind of stuff, but just those that care about you and those that you care about, try to be on good terms with them. But more importantly, take care of yourself, because the only one that's ever going to take care of you the best is yourself. You know yourself better. You know what feels right, what doesn't feel right. And if you ignore it and think it's going to go away, well, bad news is not like wine. It does not get better with time. So that kind of wraps as a lot. I know I just went through there, but I just want to kind of put that out there. Toby, I don't know if anything you want to add into that, but
when what were we saying before the show? When you're 21-year-old, hard charging blue vein, and
that's a nice way to put it.
Paratrooper, infantry guy, or whatever you are, dirty leg, like some of us. Like, you don't think that something's gonna get you, or you think you're immune. No one is. No one's immune. We're all gonna die, and live a good life. Take care of yourself. Give yourself a best chance to stay here as long as you can, so that you can do good things. Don't waste the short little time that you have. To caveat that, I think the world, definitely Texas, but the world for sure lost a wonderful woman this past week as well, Martha Butch Nyman. She was an amazing lady that I met through Soldiers Angels. She was a dedicated veteran supporter. Her husband served, and she was a piece of furniture at the bottom VA. And when I say piece of furniture, I'm not saying anything derogatory. She was there so much. She did so much that she held people up. She put people's troubles on her shoulders. She did so much there. She was a true saint. She was a true angel. The epitome of what Soldier's Angel stands for and what they are. One of the best, Martha Butts Nyman, in my opinion, is one of the best ones out there. There's very few like Patty, You know, Patty and
Mary Ripley and
Marianne Phillips.
Marianne Phillips.
You know, there's some that are
Boston Maggie.
Just like have leveled up. Martha was one of them. My life was better to have met her. My life was better to have spent time with her. And I spent very little with her, and I know that she spent a lot with a lot of great veterans. And like we were saying, you never know when your time is. Do your best to live healthy, be a good parent, be a good father, be a good mother, be a good brother, be a good spouse, and do good things. And we're blessed to have each other in our lives, Troy. And I know that the gym's been good to you. Like you gotta rise up. You're almost ready for 2-a-days.
Yeah.
And,
well, these great Enlisted 9 shirts help, man, because they make everything look better. They do.
Colton.
They do. I'm burning through them quick, man. I think I'm wearing like 2 of these a day because I wear one every morning to the gym. And but no, it's just like I say, you just kind of think we get busy in life and you get moving on. You don't think about it, and you get punched in the gut that kind of says, man, remember you're still a frail human being, and anything can take you down at any moment. So had I not went to the doc, had I not got my physicals like I used to not do, who knows how long I'd have something before I'd be diagnosed with it. I would actually have to be, physically impacted. Where like, why do I keep, getting dizzy or whatever, effects there are by not letting you, not watching your sugar and stuff. I don't know. But, I caught it when I went to other docs and they were like, wow, you just caught this. Like you just got, I'm like, yeah, just like you got on this early. I'm like, yeah, I'm really glad I kind of did the right thing. Really listen to stuff my wife's always telling me to do, and I blew her off. Like, I'm fine. I got busy. I ain't got time for that stuff. That's why we got a wonderful one.
Every now and then they're right.
They are every now and then. Don't tell her.
In my house, like,
don't tell her.
They're right a lot.
Yeah, of course. Wow. She's always right.
But hey, want to thank Enlisted 9, Veteran Outdoors, Fire and Ice Pizza Bar in Round Rock, Grunt, here for grunts, and
Mesquite Creek Outfitters,
MCO, yep. Everyone that supports the show, and we look forward to seeing everyone next week. Next week. Am I here next? I'm here next week. Week after, I'm not here. It is our spring break. I will not be here the week after. So, Toby, you will be on your own April 3rd, my friend. Just so you know. Tech's on you. All right.
you got tech. But I know you got 2 weeks to get ready. But
Bush League.
Yeah. Bush League. Going to see, am I going to Fire Ice or am I going to Mesquite Creek? Maybe you can find Tim in town and have him with you. Yeah.
We'll get somebody. We'll be good.
But no, we've still working on a number of great guests. Like we've had a long run of some great guests there. And actually tonight was one of the first ones in a while where we took a break and it was just us. We haven't we just kind of want to talk. There was enough stuff going on, and of course I want to talk about a little bit of stuff. So again, like Toby said, thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to our sponsors and everything else we got going on and all the charities that we support. And we hope to see you here next Tuesday, 8:00 Eastern. It's doing the Nunn. Everybody, you have a good night, and here we go. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Stu and the Nunn Radio. We hope you enjoyed your time with us because we have enjoyed sharing our time with you. Be sure to check out stewandthenunn.com in addition to asking us questions and interacting with us on our Facebook page and Twitter. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern here on Spreaker and Facebook Live. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Warrior Media Solutions, BlueHammer.com, Veteran Outdoors, Graybeard Publishing, and Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. Thank you again, and have a good night.
Shut up. Sit down.